Hello and welcome. Whether you're watching this in the morning, afternoon, or evening, congratulations on reaching this remarkable milestone. Earning your master's degree with a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion is no small feat. You've committed to a path rooted in justice, empathy, and transformation at a time when those values are both under the microscope and more necessary than ever. My name is Sina Koltor, and I serve as the Executive Director of Career Services at Morgan State University, a leading historically Black college and university in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm honored to guide you through this conversation, one that's timely, layered, and designed to prepare you for what's next. This presentation, Redefining the Path, Launching DEI Careers in the Shifting Landscape, was created with intention and care and brought to you with the help of artificial intelligence to make it more accessible, flexible, and forward-looking. As you prepare to enter or re-enter the workforce, you may be feeling a mix of pride, anticipation, and a little uncertainty. That's normal. The landscape for DEI-related work is evolving rapidly. We're seeing changes in language, shifting institutional priorities, and in some cases, direct pushback on initiatives that once felt foundational. Some job titles are being renamed, departments restructured, and messaging recalibrated, particularly in corporate and higher education environments. But with every shift comes possibility. Let's begin with a reality check, because the landscape you're entering is complex, fast-moving, and in many ways, uncertain. Today, we're going to take a closer look at what's shaping the world of DEI work right now. The field is undergoing dramatic shifts due to political, legal, and societal pressures. And while that may sound daunting, it's also a moment full of possibility, especially for graduates like you who bring both deep knowledge and incredible adaptability to the table. Across the country, more than 20 states have introduced or passed legislation aimed at restricting DEI efforts in public institutions. These actions have had a direct and visible impact on higher education. We've seen DEI offices defunded, reorganized, or in some cases, shut down entirely. For those of you interested in working in academia, this means it's more important than ever to understand how institutions are adapting and where new opportunities might emerge from this restructuring. But this shift isn't limited to campuses. In the corporate world, DEI initiatives are being scrutinized too by legal teams, by policymakers, and increasingly by shareholders. These shareholders are asking tough questions about impact, legality, and return on investment. So what's happening as a result? We're seeing DEI work reframed and repositioned, not erased, but often embedded in broader functions like talent development, employee engagement, organizational culture, and ESG strategy. Let's pause there for a moment. ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance. It's a framework companies use to evaluate their impact on the planet, impact on people, and on how they govern themselves. DEI falls within the social pillar of ESG, and increasingly, companies are housing inclusion work within this structure, often in strategy, operations, or sustainability teams. So what does this mean for you? It means DEI is not disappearing, it's evolving. It's becoming more integrated, less visible, maybe, but no less vital. The takeaway here is this. As a job seeker, you'll need to look beyond the title. The work you care about may now be called belonging, culture, human capital, or inclusive innovation. Your role is to recognize DEI when you see it, and to clearly articulate how your skills support big picture goals like retention, engagement, innovation, and market competitiveness. And yes, that requires agility. It requires an ability to read the room and the job description. But most of all, it requires staying grounded in your values, no matter how the environment shifts around you. Because the truth is, equity work is still happening. It's just showing up in new places and under new names. Before we move on, I want to share a helpful resource. To the right of your screen, you'll see a QR code. This links to a DEI legislation tracker, a tool that allows you to stay informed on what's changing at the state level and how it might affect your work moving forward. Let's take a moment to look at this chart. It gives us a clearer picture of how the DEI job market has evolved over the past 5 years. You'll notice a sharp surge in DEI job postings around 2020-2021, particularly following the murder of George Floyd in 2020. That period marked a wave of public commitments to racial justice, and many organizations rapidly created DEI positions in response. But that momentum has since shifted. According to data analyzed by Glassdoor, DEI-related job postings dropped by 44% between August 2022 and August 2023 and have continued to decline through 2024. This pullback is reflected across industries, with many companies either consolidating DEI responsibilities into broader roles or cutting them altogether. Hiring rates also decreased, reflecting not just fewer open roles, but increased scrutiny, restructuring, or deprioritization of DEI initiatives at the organizational level. So what does that mean? It means the market has cooled, especially for standalone DEI roles, the kind housed in siloed departments with diversity or equity in the title. But it's not all discouraging. Some industries have shown resilience. Healthcare and technology, in particular, continue to invest in DEI-related positions, often embedding them into broader strategies related to culture, compliance, innovation, and workforce development. So if you're looking ahead and wondering where your skills might fit, this is the takeaway. The opportunities are still there, but the path might look different than you imagined. Being strategic about the sectors you pursue, the language you use, and the business outcomes you connect your work to will be essential. DEI isn't disappearing, it's being reframed, and now, more than ever, how you position yourself matters. As you begin to think about how to position yourself in today's job market, here's something to keep in mind. The most impactful DEI professionals are not just passionate. They're multi-skilled, data-savvy, and business-minded. Yes, your commitment matters. But what sets you apart is your ability to pair that passion with the tools and strategies that drive real change. Let's walk through a few of those essential competencies. Data analysis. You've probably heard the phrase, if we can't measure it, we can't improve it. That absolutely applies to DEI work. Whether it's tracking recruitment, retention, pay equity, or climate survey results, data helps us identify what's working and what needs to change. It gives us a roadmap. Today, more organizations are looking for professionals who can not only collect this data, but also interpret it and, most importantly, translate it into action. Next, change management. Let's be honest, advancing equity often requires cultural transformation, and transformation rarely comes without resistance. That's where your ability to manage change becomes critical. Whether you're leading a new initiative or responding to pushback, strong DEI professionals know how to build trust, gain buy-in across departments, sustain momentum even when the work gets uncomfortable. Another game-changing skill, business acumen. You need to know how to speak the language of strategy and performance. When you can show how DEI connects to profitability, innovation, employee engagement, or customer retention, you position yourself not as a feel-good hire, but as a strategic asset. This is what gets you a seat at the decision-making table. And finally, talent development. From inclusive leadership training to mentorship programs, helping organizations develop and elevate diverse talent is one of the most powerful ways you can make an impact. It's not just a DEI win, it's a business investment in long-term success. So here's the big takeaway. These are the competencies that employers are really looking for. Not just belief in the mission, but the ability to lead, measure, manage, and mobilize. If you can do that, if you can connect values to results, you're not just ready for the market. You're ready to help redefine it. As you begin your job search, it's natural to look for titles like DEI Director, DEI Specialist, or Diversity Recruiter, roles that explicitly align with the work you've been trained to do. These are well-established positions, and they absolutely still exist. But in today's shifting landscape, it's important to broaden your lens and explore the many other roles where your DEI expertise is both relevant and needed. There are growing opportunities in areas like organizational development, talent acquisition, learning and development, and employee experience. These functions are deeply connected to culture and engagement, and increasingly, they're expected to integrate equity and inclusion into their strategies. We're also seeing emerging roles that may not have been on your radar yet. Titles like belonging strategist, cultural intelligence consultant, or workplace culture analyst. These are roles that combine traditional business functions with a deep focus on inclusive practices, human behavior, and organizational change. The key takeaway here is this: don't limit yourself to job titles that say DEI. Think about how your skills like facilitation, data analysis, change management, cultural fluency, and inclusive leadership can support broader goals. Many teams are looking for people who bring an equity lens to their work, even if the job isn't housed in a DEI office. And when you're applying to these alternative roles, be intentional about connecting the dots. Make sure your resume and interviews highlight how your DEI background enhances collaboration, drives innovation, and strengthens the overall culture of the organization. You have more pathways than ever to create change. The work doesn't always look the same, but the impact is just as powerful. Please note, a SAGE-RM certification is not required to enter human resources positions, but it can be beneficial depending on the role, the organization, and your long-term career goals. In a competitive job market, especially if you're applying for roles connected to DEI, one of the most effective things you can do is customize your application. A one-size-fits-all resume or a generic cover letter, that's not going to cut it anymore. Start by researching the organization. Look at how they talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Do they have a public commitment to it? Are there employee resource groups, publish DEI reports, or specific equity goals? Pay close attention to the language they use on their website, their social media platforms, within their job postings. That language is a blueprint. Mirror it in your application materials to show that you're aligned with their mission and mindset. Next, take a look at your own experience. Whether it's from a class project, internship, student leadership role, or previous job, think beyond the task and focus on the outcome. So instead of saying, facilitated a DEI workshop, say, led a campus-wide training attended by 100 plus students, resulting in a 40% increase in awareness of unconscious bias, as measured by pre-post surveys. Notice what I did there. I quantified the training, then provided outcome data, 40% increase in awareness of unconscious bias. Numbers matter, outcomes matter. They help hiring managers see your value and remember your name. Finally, don't underestimate the power of transferable skills. Think project management, data analysis, public speaking, stakeholder engagement, conflict resolution, strategic planning. These are core competencies in many industries, and they're especially valuable when paired with a DEI perspective. Even if the job title doesn't include the words diversity or equity, your ability to communicate across differences, manage change, and build inclusive environments makes you an asset. Here's the bottom line: make your case clearly and confidently. Show the employer not just that you care about DEI, but that you know how to operationalize it, how to move the work forward in ways that support their goals, values, and business outcomes. Tailor your resume, tailor your cover letter, and most importantly, speak their language while showing up as your authentic self. That's how you rise above the noise and land a role where you can truly make an impact. When exploring job opportunities, It's essential to look beyond the surface. A well-worded public statement is just the beginning. True organizational commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion is reflected in actions, not just statements. Start by looking at the diversity of leadership. Who's at the table when decisions are being made? Is there representation across racial, gender, and other identity lines, especially at the executive and board levels? And beyond representation, look at patterns of advancement. Are underrepresented groups being promoted and retained in leadership roles? Next, examine how the company invests in its DEI work. This means looking at budget allocation, the presence of full-time roles dedicated to DEI, and whether those individuals have the authority and support to drive change. A DEI initiative without resources is just window dressing. Also, take a step back and analyze how the company has responded publicly during moments of social tension, whether that's racial justice protests, anti-LGBTQ+ legislation, or rollbacks of DEI. Another sign of authentic commitment is transparency. Does the company publish diversity metrics, progress reports, or goals? Better yet, are executives held accountable for inclusion through incentives such as performance evaluations or compensation tied to DEI outcomes? These are all critical indicators that help you assess whether the organization is serious about inclusion or simply using it as a branding tool. And as someone trained in this work, you have the lens to make that judgment thoughtfully and confidently. When you're in the interview phase, it's not just about showcasing your qualifications, it's also your opportunity to assess whether the organization is a place where your values and expertise will be supported and put to use. Start by paying close attention to the language your interviewer uses. Do they speak about diversity as a compliance issue or as a strategic asset? Do they use inclusive language? These cues can give you insight into how the company truly thinks about DEI beyond what's written in a job description. It's also important to come prepared with thoughtful, strategic questions. Ask how DEI is structured within the organization. Is there a dedicated team? Who does it report to? Is there a budget? These kinds of questions signal that you're serious about the work, and they help you gauge whether the organization is too. As you answer their questions, be sure to connect your DEI experience to business outcomes. Talk about how the inclusive practices you've implemented led to better team performance, improved retention, or helped a project better serve a diverse audience. Make the connection between DEI and measurable value clear. Finally, take time to assess whether the role you're applying for will actually give you the authority and resources to do meaningful work. Will you have access to decision makers, a seat at the table, the autonomy to propose and implement initiatives? Remember, an interview is a two-way evaluation. You're not just trying to land the job, you're ensuring the organization is a place where you can do impactful, supported, and respected DEI work. One of the most powerful tools you have for building a successful and sustainable career is your network. In a time when the landscape is constantly shifting, relationships can open doors that online platforms can't. Start by joining professional associations like SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management, or AAAED, the American Association for Access, Equity, and Diversity. These organizations are not only excellent for learning and certification, they're also full of people who understand the nuances of navigating workplace culture, talent development, and inclusion. It's also important to build relationships with peers, others who are facing similar challenges or working to advance equity from different corners of the field. These connections can become your community, your sounding board, and even your collaborators. And then there's mentorship. Connecting with experienced DEI practitioners, whether through LinkedIn, alumni networks, or professional events, can give you valuable insight and support as you grow. A good mentor can help you navigate political complexity, build your confidence, and identify opportunities that align with your values. A strong network offers so much more than job leads. It provides career advice, emotional support, and often a lifeline during moments of transition or uncertainty. It also keeps you informed, helping you stay on top of emerging trends, industry shifts, and evolving best practices. So, as you move forward, don't just focus on what jobs are open, also focus on who you know and who knows the value you bring to this work. In today's job market, continuous learning isn't optional, it's essential. The pace of change in nearly every industry means that staying adaptable and expanding your skill set is one of the most powerful ways to stay competitive. Personally, I've made it a priority to invest in my own development by pursuing specialized certifications in areas like diversity, equity, and inclusion, Google Analytics, and leadership programs through academic impressions. These credentials not only add to my resume, but they signal to leadership that I take initiative and am committed to excellence. I've also chosen to study across disciplines, diving into topics like organizational psychology, curriculum development, and even assessment. Why? Because the problems we're trying to solve, whether around inclusion, performance, or engagement, are complex, and solving them often requires knowledge that crosses traditional boundaries. Equally important, I stay informed on employment law and regulatory changes, especially those impacting DEI and workplace equity. Being aware of the legal landscape ensures that my work remains ethical, compliant, and grounded in best practices. Ultimately, continuous learning is about more than just gathering credentials. It shows that you are proactive, curious, and willing to evolve with the demands of the industry. That mindset of growth and adaptability is something employers value now more than ever. As we navigate careers that are deeply mission-driven, it's essential to not just focus on impact, but also on sustainability. One of the most powerful things you can do is build relationships with people who share your values and vision. Whether that's through peer networks, affinity spaces, or mentors, having a circle that understands the unique challenges of this work can make you feel supported, validated, and less alone. It's also important to revisit your personal mission regularly. Why did you choose this path? What motivates you at your core? Reconnecting with that why, especially during difficult seasons, can help you stay grounded and inspired. Another key practice is setting clear boundaries between your professional identity and your personal life. When your work is connected to your values, it can be easy to overextend. But protecting your time and energy is not just a form of self-care, it's a leadership skill. Lastly, think about what sustainable practices you need to stay resilient over the long term. That might mean unplugging regularly, taking walks, setting limits on how much emotional labor you carry, or simply giving yourself permission to rest. Burnout doesn't mean you're weak. It usually means you've been strong for too long without pause. Taking care of yourself is not separate from the work. It's what allows you to keep doing the work. As you continue to build your career, it's important to surround yourself with tools and communities that can support and sustain your growth. Professional associations are a great place to start. Organizations like the Forum on Workplace Inclusion, the National Association of Diversity Officers in Higher Education, and the SHRM Inclusion Conference offer powerful opportunities for learning, connection, and community. Whether through conferences, webinars, or resource libraries, these networks help keep you informed and plugged into the larger DEI ecosystem. When it comes to job searching, there are platforms specifically designed to connect diverse talent with inclusive employers. Sites like the Diversity Jobs Network, Inclusion Careers Board, and Jobwell highlight opportunities at organizations that are actively investing in equity and belonging. And don't underestimate the power of a good book. Titles like Beyond Inclusion, The Business of Belonging, and Inclusive Growth offer practical frameworks, personal insights, and business-aligned strategies for creating real change in workplaces. By leveraging these resources, whether for education, community, or career development, you're not just building your resume. You're building your capacity to lead, to influence systems, and to drive progress in a meaningful way. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute privilege to explore this work alongside you. And whether you're watching this solo or gathered as part of a group, I hope you're walking away with new energy, insight, and clarity. As we close, I want to encourage two things: reflection and action. First, take a moment to ask yourself, what resonated most with you today? Which strategies or insights felt personal or opened up a new possibility for your journey? If you're watching this as a group, I especially encourage you to take a few minutes together to reflect out loud. Sometimes the most powerful breakthroughs come through collective reflection, hearing how others are processing the same ideas in different ways. This is how we build collective strength. We name the challenges, we share the wisdom, and we walk forward together. Now let's turn insight into action. Here are two things I'd love for you to walk away with. As a group, identify one way you can support each other's professional growth, whether that's sharing opportunities, starting a peer review circle, or committing to stay connected beyond today. As an individual, choose one concrete action you'll take this week to move your DEI career forward. That could be reaching out to someone in your network, applying for a new role, drafting your personal mission statement, or setting up a meeting with your university's career center. And speaking of resumes, if you're feeling stuck or unsure, don't try to do it alone. Reach out to your career services team. They're there to help. And if you're no longer a student, there are great online tools and platforms out there to help you build or polish your resume.